Hello, I'm back with another video and some more content, and I'm really enjoying today because I'm kind of running with insight and inspiration, and sometimes the more you run with something, the more it runs with you. So I think I was blessed with some insights that are occurring to me as I'm creating this content, and it's also it's some of it is somewhat new. It's things that I may have experienced or been aware of, but as I'm expressing it, it's somewhat new to me as to an audience. But I wanted to follow up. So I had my previous video, the equipment, it cut out on me as I was forming some of my strongest, I think, ideas and content to this point. And that's instructive on this today is instructive on so many levels because we in life we can pretty much count on anything that we count on to fail us at the exact moment that we need it the most or that we're having the most success. And that's true of devices and people and so forth. And so it's always good to have a backup or another way to do something. And so the device I'm recording on now is actually my main and my strongest platform for recording. And then that second one that I had been recording with was actually like my jump off device, which is that's kind of like slang for your lover or liaison on the side. Sometimes the lover or the liaison that's on the side is actually the more enjoyable experience, if I'm really just being tongue in cheek. And so it's the same with like our hobbies and interests, where sometimes what we do to sustain ourselves is one thing, but it's always good to have something on the side that keeps us happy and that we actually care about, probably somewhat more so than our main occupation, as heinous as that sounds. So like for me, that's like music. And the orator Osho once said that music is a jealous what do you guys say? Music is a jealous mistress. And so anyone who's interested in music can know how much music can assert itself and maybe even challenge and rival your main occupation's interests and the relationships if it's real to you. But that being said, it's good to have different ways to do things or get stuff done, so that when you are frustrated with something, you have a recourse to go around it. And that's true of a lot of things in life. It's always advantageous to have a different route or a way of accomplishing something. But I did have some very kind of general and disparate insight and inspiration that I was fathoming as I was returning to provide this video, and then also to complete some statements that I was in the process of making when the equipment failed. And so the one was that I had been expressing that when I was young, I had insight, inspiration, and impetus to express myself, such that I actually made I kind of made an for lack of a better word, made an ass of myself in some very influential settings around prominent members of community where I live, no less than church officials and the real kind of the real movers and shakers of the community, both the ones of recognized status and rank, but also the humble, ordinary people who are very effective and very influential in the community and get things done. So I really did make a proper ass of myself when I was young. But some of the people that really held me down and grounded me and gave me the little bit of esteem and support that I needed just to get myself together and to walk away with my dignity and integrity intact. Some of these had been some real thoroughgoing people of a street background that were they were about what they were about in the street, and then when they were blessed and favored to find redemption and faith, what that meant to them, and then they reformed and they were about what they were about in that setting. These are the people who could recognize value in me and my first steps to find my wings and express myself as goofy as I was then. And so I was saying that in that last video, I was saying that this is my understanding of what it is to be a street or what have you, is to be able to recognize value in people and things in a unique way that actually is transcendent or rivals the taste and the pretensions and the status quo, and to really be able to appreciate something that's different, recognize something that's different, and honor something that's different in a cool way. And so some of these people from these very awesome or humble backgrounds can be the real ones to support you and hold you down, and the little things are the biggest things. So I just wanted to pay homage to those type of people in all the different settings, but also run with that a little bit, because I had expressed in that other video that sometimes when we actually get to such an extent that we have anger towards a higher power, that I think any and all people can come to that if they even if and as they are attempting to walk some type of sincere path with faith, or even if they're not concerned, they're not concerned with themes of faith in redemption and upright and having a equitable path of conduct. We can at one point, whether we are living in a faith terms or secular terms or both, we can find frustration with a higher power and or ourselves, which is not entirely different in the ultimate scale. And being angry at a higher power can amount to anger towards ourselves, and in vice in the other way. So that's as significant and serious. And I think in one of these videos in this series, I also expressed that the things that we can surmount and sustain all types of different blows and setbacks from without, but the ones that emanate from within, that's what the real damage is. And so in that same vein, I had referenced, I had made allusions and I had drawn similarities between mocking and sexual misconduct, but then anger towards oneself and a higher power is not different from those other two, and can also be instigated and incited by some type of experience with the other two. So that what I meant to say is that we can actually become quite frustrated with ourselves and our understanding of a higher power, to the point of lashing out towards ourselves or other people, which are also an expression of a higher power. And some of the things that actually can be our saving grace, because we do need grace at all times, and especially in these moments, is the salt and the very humble yet sincere and real people and influences that are around us, of a lower station and rank than we would ascribe to a higher power. Yet these can be the very effective people in our midst that are really the difference between sometimes life and death, and how we're able to get ourselves together and get past these very challenging stations or phases. So what I want to say is that the author Arthur Avalon, he says in one of his books that so when a king or queen is directing a conflict theater or a war campaign, heaven forbid, and they actually have some type of understanding of the broader battle space and the broader dynamics and conditions that are forming, they may actually be aware when victory or defeat is near at hand. However, they cannot ring the horn, or I'm not sure what they cannot sound the I think it's called the clarion of victory from their high seat to the actual embattled troops that are on the front in formations, active formations, because had these troops began to celebrate or embrace victory before victory had actually been surmounted, they may actually concede the advantage in the momentum they had, and it could actually change the outcome. So in a certain sense, what I meant to say is that these people in our midst, like I was saying, maybe some saints that are from a real rough background, and they're still of a humble station, yet they are enlightened to a degree, or they're just simply savvy and effective and sincere. These people who are that are right next to, that are on our right and our left, that are with us, their support may be the real crucial support that gets us over something, more so than the more high and sublime aspects of what we would consider a higher power, or whatever we take directive from, as these are the actual our actual leaders on the battle in the battle, if you'll humor the analogy. And also sometimes in a certain sense, and I'm making an analogy to battle, but life can also be equated to a battle in many senses. the higher powers or the higher directives and resources. Some of these are actually they're more or less they're just the things that get us into the battle, that incite or instigate or place us in proximity to be in some form of battle. And that battle can be a great it can be an opportunity to really to test our mettle and taste victory and make something of ourselves and our efforts, or it can also be equally our defeat and our undoing that may benefit our opposition, which on a greater sense, our higher powers may not be disinterested in the victory of our opposition, because life is really sophisticated, and I think they call it like there's a certain word for like chess, when it's like three-dimensional chess, or when it's like very sophisticated. So right, good and bad, right and wrong, left and right, east and west, up and down, all that is somewhat relative. And so if we really, I think we should respect our opposition and realize that there are lessons and a value that has been created in all our different conflicts. And life and death is really not and victory itself is not a respecter of persons. So all kinds of different outcomes and angles are being worked at all times, to such an extent that our understanding of a higher power, or whatever we derive support and directive from, it can as equally in a certain sense work against us as it works for us. So that it really just simply amounts to putting us into certain situations that are very trying and difficult. And that might be the real, if any, value of something that is high and profound. But what's going to actually get us through and over something, if we are fortunate or destined to attain victory, is going to be these very humble people in our midst. You know, like a higher power directive may give you some kind of crucial intelligence as to what is forming around us. And you know that might, maybe the all that amounts to is just having some kind of understanding of what weather we're getting into, whether or not we can do anything about the weather that we're faced with. But the intelligence of the people that are with us in a battle of some kind, that's the real intelligence. Is that like and if we are actually to taste or surmount victory, when victory is surmounted and attained, and it is actually called, it's going to be the people that are in your midst that are like, okay, I think we ran through all the stuff that's against us. So they're going to be the ones to let you know it's not going to be from on high where you recognize that there's some kind of victory. And even if there is, that victory belongs to what's on high. So it in a certain sense it can be worthless in a certain sense. And the celebration and the victory amongst those who are going through with us, or even the defeat going through with us, that's what really counts for something. So I just wanted to temper that. Sometimes when we are feeling anger towards ourselves or towards a higher power, which may not be entirely different, this might actually be a green flag in some type of if we can surmount it and ride it, this might be an entrance into a higher state, or even more sincere worship that we're capable of offering in testimony. But what's going to make the difference is these very humble people around us. Sometimes I have like a role where I do like 1099 independent contractor work in my area, still somewhat humble within that. But sometimes, I can, I have a certain scope of freedom and initiative when I'm doing that, and I can enjoy different things like maybe music and podcast while I'm doing that. But sometimes I can actually be doing something where I'm making progress financially and personally, doing something that I enjoy doing, because I actually enjoy delivering things to people. Somehow, when you attain some experience, it actually is a greater gift to give than to receive. And so there can be enjoyment just meeting people, and also serving people and putting a smile on people's face. But I can actually find myself, as I have a lot of people that drive a lot are thinkers, I think, because you have no recourse but to think while you're driving, similar to being incarcerated. So sometimes when you think, you're actually having battles so to speak, within the thoughts that you choose to entertain and engage. And you can be going in a stimulating and insightful direction, or a detrimental and indulgent direction, to the point where you're actually getting frustrated with yourself and with life while you're actually succeeding in a certain sense. And so it's kind of like you can be driving and nothing has happened to you, and you're doing all right, but you're getting angrier and angrier or resentful at different things that you're indulging in, to the point where it's kind of like you're it's almost like you're frustrated that you are having your cake, but you're not getting to eat your ice cream at the same time too, even though you likely will get to taste ice cream as you're having enough cake. Or then even the people who are fortunate enough to somehow have their cake and their ice cream at the same time, they might start to be upset that the cone party hat that they're wearing is not cool enough while they're having their cake and their ice cream too. So we always have something to be frustrated with if we go that route. But I was one day having an experience like that, and I came across a man who was quite visibly crippled, and he had quite a severe gait to almost have to hobble in between the parking lot and the restaurant where I was going. Something about this man was so graceful and manly in his gait that it was the most it was just the most it was the most manly thing that I had seen, is the way that this man carried himself with a gait that he couldn't help. And that was very humbling for me. And it's similar to these different street people that brought me back down when I was making an ass out of myself. And I just wanted to say that these graces, these demonstrations of fortitude or faith or just simple humility that are about and around us are very significant when we are reaching some of the higher, when we're maybe about to have a breakthrough of some kind. That's very challenging, but also enlightening if we can get through it. So anytime you're feeling frustrated with yourself or your understanding of a higher power, reckon with and maybe take a moment to appreciate how significant these very humble influences are around you, that really can make the difference, you know. And like sometimes we think about like like say you have a job of some kind, and then you have your coworkers, your immediate supervisor, and then maybe a higher supervisor that's not around as much, and then an even higher supervisor that's around even less, and then maybe like shareholders and CEOs that they're accountable to, who are aware of your goings on, but they don't make their presence known to you or their identity known to you. The real leadership is going to come from the people that are amidst you, your peers, and then maybe just a little bit above you or even just a little bit below you. That's your real input and directive, if you're being honest. And they're the ones who can really make you good and make you succeed. So kind of recognizing that somehow it's the direction of the influence of people who are just a little bit above you or just a little bit below you, as you understand, that are really important, more so than in an effective capacity, more so than the higher rungs of leadership that we're still accountable to. But then, so I wanted to say, so I guess I'll leave that one there, is where I was going with that. And then another thing that crossed my awareness today is that I was thinking, in other videos I've talked about how sometimes things are this universe is an equal and opposite reaction for the things we do. So a lot of times the things that we do that are that we think are of a good or a kind gesture and intention can actually bring the exact opposite of that back to us. But I'm recognizing that sometimes if we did put that forward with genuine, sincere goodwill, even the pain and the maybe the affront or slight that comes back when we're doing the best we can, there's something valuable in that. And that sometimes I think that when we are when we are checked by life or by one another to a different degree, and we are dismissed or rejected, these might actually somehow be blessings if we can cope with, if we can embrace, if we can accept them, if we can accept being rejected, with humility and find the strength to bear dignity in that lost opportunity, or that whatever that may or may not mean to a person. Soon thereafter, in the days, weeks, months, and years after coming through a rejection of some kind, some of our real propensities and strengths are mounted, are realized after these rejections. So like there was a person that I worked with several years ago who was very very unique to me as a person, both aesthetically and just who they were as a person. And it was kind of clear that I didn't mean the same thing to them on some level, and that was somewhat painful. But it's just part of being an adult. But then, as I look at my life, several years after that, I think I became stronger as a person on many levels, both personally, aesthetically, musically. And just a more interesting, just a more well-rounded person. That I have more improvement to do, as we all do. But I think had I met that person then as the person I am now, I may still be dismissed and rejected as I was then, because I'm still actually the same person. But I think I would have a little bit more attraction or even appeal in a superficial or general way. And then how we manage that is with maturity, we can also manage whatever traction we have with people and circumstances better. So I just meant to say that a lot of wisdom and seasoning comes from these rejections. But then more recently, I was kind of rejected once again when I was extending myself. I've had a little bit of traction with content creation and music, and as I've attempted to extend different content or music that I've created of my own initiative, and had really just my ass handed to me, and my invitations returned to me, I can get to a little bit of humility comes with that. And then so I was like recently bantering with people in my community, as I often enjoy bantering with people as a way of living, but also as a skill set, because the more you banter with people in good nature, you can start to become stronger, smoother, maybe even slicker. And then inevitably you're going to venture some jokes and statements that don't go over well, because as tall as you may be, if your mouth is open long enough, your foot is going to find its way to your mouth. But you learn, you get stronger with that, and you really learn what is whacked, and what doesn't go over well, and how that didn't go over well, and you still become stronger. So if you're maintaining respect within yourself and dignity within yourself and towards other people, your banter and your humor is going to more or less, I think, is going to become more and more. I think another vocabulary word is apropos, or like suitable and appropriate, and you get a little bit cleaner, slicker, and colder, and better, and then you less and less put your foot in your mouth. But if you try it, you are gonna, I think, put your foot in your mouth sometimes. But I meant to say that I was having an experience with a person, and it was a little bit of a more genuine and even more a stronger interaction than I was having with people like in the last weeks, months, and years. And some of it has to do with the humility of having my ass handed to me, and an invitation returned to me. So I just wanted to leave that there as more inspiration. But this one's getting a little bit long-winded, so I'll probably cut it down or cut it off. But I just hope this can be of value to someone, and just other angles to think about things, and just continue improving, because we improve and we improve long enough, and we try stuff, and we have all of us can't help but have a little bit of a shtick in how we approach people in life. But as you get cleaner and cleaner, I think one day maybe you will actually land on an experience that is really quite unique for both yourself and another person, in who you are and have become, and what you are in a particular moment. And if you've been doing the work and doing the best you can, and also being humble and offering a value, that might amount to like a special, a unique and enjoyable experience for two people, and that's really quite beautiful and worthwhile in my estimation. So that's what it's about for me, and I hope for you too with my message and anything you're into. So peace and one love.